There's new news. Specific fats can get you into ketosis faster than other fats, and they can raise your ketones faster than other fats. And I'm not talking about MCT oil, I'm talking about specific, healthy, full spectrum food fats that we can get. I'm gonna teach you exactly how it works, specifically when you're getting started on keto, so that you can get into ketosis faster, get through the keto flu, and just get rocking and rolling. Hey, before you bag on me for my shirt, it's all about irony, okay? This is a keto video, so I'm wearing a Coca-Cola shirt. You're tuned into the internet's leading performance, nutrition, and fat loss channel with new videos every single Tuesday, Friday, and Sunday at 7 a.m. Pacific time. Please go ahead and hit that red subscribe button and then hit that bell icon. That way you are part of my notification squad. You always get a push notification whenever I post a new video, or better yet, do a live broadcast. All right, let's go ahead and let's jump right into some of this stuff. Okay, so specific fats will cause a specific ketone response within your body. Now, the reason that this is very important when you're first starting out is because when you are first going into ketosis, you want to have your ketone levels a little bit higher. Why? Because that transition is what's going to allow you to feel good. Otherwise, you're falling victim to the keto flu, and you're falling victim to sort of that sluggishness. And quite honestly, you're more likely to throw in the towel early on if your ketone levels don't get high enough. One, because you're not seeing the results on the meter. You're not seeing the results on the urine strips or whatever, and it's just disappointing. But two, because you're stuck in that sluggish keto flu phase and you just say, I'm not gonna do this, this isn't for me. So let me show you how this can work. You see, the first mistake that people usually make is they go into keto and they consume a ton of just fatty cuts of meat, and they consume all the saturated fats and all the fun stuff they've been wanting to eat because they're doing the keto diet. And don't get me wrong, that stuff can definitely come into play. I'm not saying you can't eat that stuff, but when you're first getting started, there's some science that proves that might not be the best way to go, simply because those kind of fats break down in a different way. So even though that stuff is tempting, you don't want to dive right into that until you're a little bit more indoctrinated into keto. Now, with that being said, let's go ahead and break down a relatively recent study that shed some new light on how fats turn into ketones. So this study was published in the Journal of Clinical Endocrinology and Metabolism. Took a look at 20 adults, and the study broke them into two different groups. Okay, now they put them into two groups that ate a ketogenic diet in a weight maintenance fashion. So they weren't trying to get them to gain weight, they weren't trying to get them to lose weight. They just had two groups, ketogenic diet, maintaining weight. The only difference between the two groups was one group ate more saturated fat, and one group ate more polyunsaturated fat. So it looked like this. One group ate 60% of their fats from saturated fat, 15% from polyunsaturated fat, and 25% from monounsaturated fat. Okay? The other group ate 60% of their fats from polyunsaturated fat, only 15% from saturated fat, and still 25% from monounsaturated. So basically they were flip-flopping. They're like, okay, saturated fats along with like healthy oils. Okay, which one is going to induce ketosis more? Well, the study results were pretty cool. At the end of 1 week, they found that the group that consumed the polyunsaturated fats in more abundance had ketone increases of 8.4 milligrams per deciliter versus the saturated fat group having an increase of 3.1 milligrams per deciliter. So more than double the amount of ketones produced by consuming the polyunsaturated fats, the things like the oils, the olive oils, the good avocado oils, things like that. That created more ketones. So that means when you're first getting started on keto, you actually might want to keep the saturated fats a little bit lower. Now, saturated fats are still very, very important, and I have to say, full disclaimer, I do videos all the time talking about how beneficial saturated fats are. Okay, they help get rid of lipoprotein A, they decrease our risk of cardiovascular disease, they help the myelination of our nerves, they help our brain. Okay, they are very important, but when it comes to getting higher ketone levels to get through that period and get through that threshold, you may want to reduce them. And here's why it actually works that way. What happens is fats have bonds, right? We have carbon bonds, a carbon skeleton that essentially makes up a fat. And first of all, when you have a fat and you start to break it down, you have a triglyceride, right? So you have fats that are bound to a glycerin molecule. So what happens is once you eat the fat, your body breaks off the glycerin and sends that a different direction. You're left with fatty acids. These fatty acids have specific carbon chains. And these carbon chains are either saturated with hydrogen, i.e. a saturated fat, or only partially saturated, i.e. polyunsaturated, meaning multiple bonds are not saturated, okay? Or monounsaturated, meaning only one bond is not fully saturated. Okay, so what that essentially tells us is That breakdown and how long it takes to break down the saturated fat is what dictates how high it can get the ketones elevated. If we can break down the fat faster, then sure, we can create ketones faster. So if we're trying to get into ketosis, then yes, the polyunsaturated could be the way to go. Now, MCT oil is great too. Okay, that you see that all over the place. It's heavily marketed, but it's hard on the system and it's a lower quality fat as far as just a nutrient profile goes. So again, not something you just want to lean on. You're not getting a full nutrient profile. This is where the olive oils and the avocado oils and the macadamia nut oils that I always tout, that people bag on me about, really come into play. It can get you through that threshold. But there's also some other stuff that we can talk about when it comes down to polyunsaturated fats and monounsaturated fats on fat accumulation, because it affects specific lipolytic enzyme activity. Now, the cool thing is there's still tasty things that you can have during your first couple of weeks of keto. Just because you're not going to be loading up with butter and you're not going to be loading up with bacon the first couple of weeks, there's still all kinds of good keto snacks. And honestly, if you're interested, I have a link down below for Thrive Market. So Thrive Market allowed me to create a specific keto box. So Thrive Market is like an online grocer, so you can get like all your groceries that you would normally get at the grocery store, you can get them on thrive.com or Thrive Market, and they're going to actually put them right to your doorstep. So you don't have to go to the grocery store, and it's cheaper than the grocery store. But the cool thing is I've got a good relationship with them, so I built a keto box. So it's all the things that I think would be good on a keto diet, including some of these polyunsaturated fats, including some of this stuff. So you can check them out down in the description and be able to get literally like what I would recommend as far as a keto box is concerned. But make sure you watch this video first, then you want to go there. I want to make sure you have all the information before you go and get a discount on anything. All right, so now let's break down why fat doesn't accumulate as much. So this study was published in the journal Nutrients. This was actually a different kind of study. This was more of an animal model study, but it was looking at it more at the cellular level. So they took a look at two groups of hamsters in this case. Okay, one group was a control group and one group was diet-induced obesity group. So basically it's very similar, but what they were looking at was what kind of effect do specific fats have on fat accumulation. They found that hamsters that consumed a lot of monounsaturated fat ended up having a better lipid profile, but more importantly, they didn't accumulate as much fat compared to another group with different fats. So the monounsaturated fats and the polyunsaturated fats activate specific lipolytic enzymes. What that means is it activates something known as PPAR, which therefore turns on hepatic carnitine palmitoyltransferase. That's basically a fancy way of saying the shuttle that takes fat into the cell. So carnitine palmitoyltransferase takes a fatty acid and it shuttles it into the mitochondria, specifically during beta oxidation. All this a fancy way of saying when the cell is using fat, it needs carnitine to let it in. Okay, so monounsaturated fats and polyunsaturated fats activate a specific pathway called PPAR that turns this process on or upregulates it more, meaning it basically hires more shuttle drivers. So it's like where there was one shuttle driver before to let fat into the mitochondria, well, PPAR is like the supervisor that said we need to hire 5 more, and it basically puts more there so that more fat can get into the mitochondria. You don't get that with saturated fats. Now, again, a whole plethora of benefits with saturated fat, but fat burning is not necessarily one of them, okay? So this breaks it down a little bit more for you. If you want higher ketones, get the olive oils in, get the macadamia nuts in, get the good food in. Even if you're someone that likes your meat, you just need to get these because it will help and it will transfer you through that awkward phase. As always, make sure you're keeping it locked in here on my channel. And again, check out Thrive Market down below if you want to check out my keto box. You all are awesome, and I'll see you in the next video.